Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show where we're going to be discussing all the latest news on the channel. Manchester United Outcast will not return and play again. Good riddance. No break clause in that deal. Lisandro Martinez, the latest on his injury and his return. Good updates coming in. He is expected back in the next few weeks. Ruben Amorim reveals his target. Him and Omar Barada have come up with for this season. Manchester United looking at the likes of Elliot Anderson, Wharton and Baleba. More news on that. And 17-year-old James Orrery, who we signed over from Australia last summer, but sadly he picked up some injuries, has been called up to first team training on 3 occasions by Amorim in the last week, and sources saying he has a good future ahead. Morgan Gibbs-White speaks out about Manchester United and what he's seeing from the Manchester United players, and more to get into. So, everybody, I hope you're having a good day. Look, Man United have won 3 games in a row. Just be happy while we can. We might lose to Forest and the negativity comes back in. I don't think we will lose to Forest. I think we will beat Forest. But while times are good, we've got to enjoy it. We've got to be positive and all of that stuff. But yeah, I want to dive into the news. I want to dive into the updates. And one thing that I think we can all agree on, no matter how we feel about Amorim, whether we like Amorim, whether we don't like Amorim, but I think one thing we can agree on is Amorim knows which players to bring in and which players to get rid of for the most part. If you compare it to Ten Hag, Ten Hag wanted to bench Ahmad for Forson. Ten Hag got rid of Alvaro. Ten Hag wanted to bring in, Anthony for ridiculous fees and all these SEG players. Whereas Ruben Amorim, you're seeing Garnacho go and Cunha come in and you're thinking upgrade. You're seeing Onana go on Le Mans come in, you're thinking upgrade. Jadon Sancho's thinking, well, Ten Hag's gone. I've got a chance at Manchester United again. And Ruben Amorim's like, no, F off. You ain't good enough. Anthony, you can F off. That's one thing that I think, Ruben Amorim does really, really well at. And obviously there's been rumours of Jadon Sancho returning to United because his loan spell at Villa is not going well. And some people are saying, it's really sad how Jadon Sancho's career fell when he came to England and Man United ruined Jadon Sancho's career. Man United did not ruin Jadon Sancho's career, okay? Man United hasn't helped a lot of players' careers, and going into the Man United environment at such a young age probably didn't help Sancho, but Sancho is at fault for ruining his own career. Sancho didn't work hard. He got called out by multiple managers for not working hard, and all he had to do was apologise to Ten Hag, and he had a choice. You apologise to Ten Hag and you can get back in the starting 11 within the next few games, or you don't apologise to Ten Hag and you don't play football for 4 months. And he said, you know what, I'd rather not play football for 4 months than apologise to Ten Hag. People saying that we ruined Jadon Sancho's career, I think is BS. Like, he had attitude issues at Manchester City. He was late at Dortmund, had some issues at Dortmund. He would stay up late night gaming. He'd be late for training, according to reports. He was called out for not training hard enough and he thought that he was being scapegoated, so he had to drop and refused to apologise and forced to move. He had so many opportunities to go. Chelsea were going to do a permanent deal and he put this post out about freedom. If Chelsea was freedom, why did you turn down 180, 200k a week from Chelsea? If Chelsea was freedom, why did you reject those kind of funds from Chelsea? So for me, I do think we didn't help his career in the sense of we gave him 350k a week at 20, 21 years of age. He thought he made it, didn't realise he had to put in the work. But there's some players where I just think it wasn't Man United. I think Højlund, it was a Man United thing. I think Højlund worked incredibly hard and I think he was too young. There was too much pressure at him. There was no service. I think Man United didn't help Højlund's career. And I think Man United is at fault for pushing Højlund's career back. But I don't think Man United's at fault for pushing Sancho's career back because he just didn't. I think he just cared about money more than anything else. And we're hearing all this drama about him and this sweetie girl, and I never even knew who this sweetie girl was before Sancho, and him, and she's putting posts about him up on her story, and it's just so nice to be rid of that. But anyway, Sancho was subbed on at the weekend by Unai Emery in the 26th minute. He was then subbed off in the 77th minute or something, meaning he played about 60 minutes, to be fair. No, he didn't. I can't do maths. He was then subbed off in the second half. He obviously wasn't happy that he was subbed on and subbed off. He's not been happy because he's not been doing amazing at Aston Villa. And a lot of Aston Villa fans are saying that he's not been great. And there's been talk of Aston Villa breaking Sancho's loan, sending him back to United because they're paying him, 80% of his wages. So they're paying him well over 200 grand a week for him not to produce. But it has been confirmed by Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt that Jadon Sancho will not return to Manchester United before the end of the season because his loan deal at Aston Villa does not have a break clause, which is good news. There was reports that he was going to return in January and Aston Villa were going to send him back because every time we think we're finally rid of Sancho, like how he went on loan with an obligation to buy to Chelsea, obligation. We thought we were finally rid of this man. We weren't. So it's like Sancho's on loan and his contract expires at the end of the year. We should finally be rid of him. And Villa could have sent him back in January, but Villa can't do that. And Jadon Sancho's contract is out in January. Manchester United are not going to renew Jadon Sancho's contract because they know that he's not going to leave. He will just stay for another year because he likes the money. Jadon Sancho will never play for Manchester United again, will finish his loan at Villa and will never be seen again and will never take any more money off us as well. And you know what? Like, maybe I'm harsh on Sancho and this and that, but he rejected so many opportunities. He rejected Juventus. He rejected Roma. He rejected Chelsea because he wanted the most money. The perfect move for Jadon Sancho would have been Roma. The perfect move for Jadon Sancho to get his career back on track would have been the Serie A. And that could have, seen him in talks with England, potentially. I think he could have gone to the Serie A and done well under someone like Gasperini. I think it would have been the perfect move for Jadon Sancho. But Jadon Sancho literally cares about money. Because Jadon Sancho was so unhappy at Manchester United, was so miserable that Chelsea was freedom, and he was going on about the freedom of Chelsea, all to say no to Chelsea so he can come back to Manchester United and get an extra 30k a week. Can't have been that free. Sancho has had attitude issues practically everywhere he's been for club and country. Yeah, I mean, there's all this social media drama around him, and it's kind of just good to be rid of that as well. Anyone saying Man United destroyed Sancho's career, rivals trying a bit of banter, the world knows Sancho's not that guy. Yeah, I think there's times where we haven't helped players like Højlund and not done many good things for his career. But I think, there's some players like Jadon Sancho where, we didn't destroy his career. He didn't put the bloody effort in. I think if he'd have gone to Liverpool or Manchester City or Chelsea, I don't think he would have been much better if he wasn't willing to put the work in. Yeah, Sancho would rather have a rapper girlfriend and lots of money than play football. I mean, that's the sad situation a lot of people believe. He did a Lingard. I don't think Lingard was that bad. Lingard got accused of being a troublemaker, this and that. Lingard just liked to dance. Like, Lingard left in the end. Like, I never saw Lingard as a naughty guy. I never saw Lingard as a naughty guy or a troublemaker. And also, when Lingard went on loan to West Ham, he was mint. Like, Sancho's gone on loan to Villa and it's been crap. When Lingard went on loan to West Ham, he was mint. Like, I don't get, like, people saying that Sancho was like Lingard. I think Lingard had much better. Lingard scored an FA Cup winning goal. Lingard had a lot better attitude. Lingard had to work his way up through loans. Sancho and Rashford will both be gone. I'm happy for Rasmus at Napoli, especially with McTominay. Conte's worked wonders for them both. Yeah, I agree. I think we got a lot of players going. Rashford, if all continues, he will not be back. He will get a permanent move to Barcelona. Højlund, if Napoli get Champions League football, will get a permanent move to Napoli. And Jadon Sancho is not coming back and not infecting his ridiculous wage demands on us as well. Can't believe Jadon Sancho made that freedom post. Ever since he's made that freedom post, I don't think he's scored a goal. I don't actually know if Sancho has scored a goal since that freedom post. Do you know what's mad? Is Mbeumo already has more Premier League goals for Man United than Jadon Sancho did in his first season. So Jadon Sancho's first season was under Ollie, and this was the season where he had a full season. He didn't take a break or anything. And Jadon Sancho managed 3 Premier League goals in his first full season at Manchester United. And Mbeumo already has 4 Premier League goals and already has beaten that. Jadon Sancho, since the freedom post, has scored 1 goal. Since Jadon Sancho spoke about freedom, he's scored 1 goal and he's not had an assist. So that's pretty nuts. That is pretty nuts since he spoke about freedom in the league. Sancho just not a serious football anymore. Best not to give him much attention anymore. Hopefully off the books permanently, yeah. Why be so harsh on Rasmus? What's he done? Not his fault. He had no service. Imagine what he could have done with Mbeumo and couldn't find him. I think you must have misheard what I said. I said I think people like Højlund, Man United, could be blamed for ruining their career. Not that Højlund's career is over, he's young. I think you must have misinterpreted what I said. I said, because Man United get accused of ruining a lot of players' career, or not ruining career, but holding their career back. With Højlund, I agree that Man United held Højlund's career back because Højlund didn't get a lot of service and he was a young player thrown in to be Man United's striker at such a young age when he was not ready. So Man United played a big part in pushing Højlund's career back. We ruined his confidence. But with Jadon Sancho, Jadon Sancho ruined his own career, not Man United. I think you might have misinterpreted what I said. Man United didn't ruin Sancho's career. Sancho didn't put the work in. Højlund came. Højlund put the work in. Højlund probably tried too hard, but we didn't create the environment for Højlund to succeed in. I don't think we created the best environment for Sancho to succeed in, but Højlund was working hard. Højlund was working hard. So that's what I meant. But yeah, we're going to move on from Sancho because, as said, he's not really worth the time and the money anymore. Rasmus was hard done by walking into a situation here so young. Players like Sancho did it to themselves, and I agree. If Sancho had apologised to Tenor, put his head down, worked hard, and it just wasn't working, and he goes on loan elsewhere and takes a wage cut and does well, you blame Man United. But I think Sancho did it to himself. I agree. The more and more I look at Alvaro Fernandez, the fact that we get to see an El Clasico with Rashford one side, Alvaro the other side is crazy. But the fact that we let Alvaro Fernandez go is nuts. Anyway, I don't want to go on and on about Jadon Sancho. Good riddance. I want to talk about a few other news stories. But obviously, a few people have been worried that Sancho is going to come back in January because it's not going well at Villa, and he won't come back in January. His contract is up at the end of the year. He is gone. He's good riddance. He's actually gone. He won't play for us again. Well, we say that. Yes, if this club go and give him a new contract, I don't think they would. But Jadon Sancho will not return to Manchester United before the end of the season because his loan to Aston Villa does not have a break clause. All right, let's continue on into the next story. So we've got some updates coming in on Lisandro Martinez and his return from injury. Ruben Amorim on Lisandro Martinez. Lisandro Martinez will be back before the break. I don't know. He's training very well, not with us, but on the neighbouring pitch. So he's on the neighbouring pitch. He's on grass training. He's training well, but he's not training with the first team yet. I watched him. He feels good. His knee is responding well. I don't want to give a specific date. He's about to resume collective training. Then it will depend on him, but he's close to a return. So that's positive updates from Amorim. Again, Leach is close to return. There was a feeling he could be on the bench before the international break, but I think Man United are like, we'd rather him be out another month than rush him back and he's out another 6 months because we've got Aiden Heaven, we've got Luke Shaw. It's not like we are absolutely sort of desperate to find a solution there, if you know what I mean. So we're in a sort of situation with Leach where I think we're just taking it slow and we're being extra careful, even because we don't need to really like rush him back. So I like that from Manchester United. It's just trying to be extra careful with Leacher, but there is a feeling he should be back early November by the latest. I don't think he starts until November. Maybe he can start late October. Yeah, I don't think he starts until late November, but maybe he can start maybe he can play mid-November, but I can't see him starting for another month. I think he'll need a few 20-minute, 30-minute cameos as well. Alice, could we do a midfield loan in January? Someone like Gallagher, for example. We could potentially, but I don't see the point. We're looking at Casemiro and Bruno as our best midfield too. And then we've got Maino and Agate. I don't sit there and see Gallagher as someone that's going to offer more than Agate and Maino in midfield. He's not been great at Atletico Madrid. And look, do you remember when Gallagher played for England? Southgate took Gallagher out and put Maino in for England. How much better were England with Maino in midfield than Gallagher? So I'm going to say that now. It makes no sense. If you like, Maino is clear of Gallagher, and I think Agate. Anything that Gallagher's going to bring you, Agate can bring you anyway. Agate can bring you anyway. So I wouldn't. If we're going to go for a lone midfielder, I want it to be someone that I'm like, he's quality. And I don't know if you could get that on loan. I think you'd have to do permanent. Yeah, it's a shame about Leacher. I agree. This is the prime of Leacher's career, and he's just losing it through injury because Leacher was really good for us, then had those injuries. Then I think he struggled his first few games back. But then all of a sudden he had that Fulham game where he scored the goal, and I think the last 3 or 4 games Leach had played in under Amorim, he was absolutely mint, and he was looking back to his best. Like, he'd been really solid for maybe a month or two after a shakier start to the season, because I think Leach had a shaky start to the season, but then he had a really good maybe 2 months, and then he's been injured again for nearly a full season. He's been so unlucky, to Sandro Martinez, but yeah, hopefully things are on the up. Ideally, him find a role for Maino, not an easy positional fitness system. That's a sad thing. Like, Maino is such a good player, but he's not an easy positional fit. And the thing is, he played Maino next to Bruno, but then you're playing 2-8s. You almost need to, I think, when Ahmad and Mbuma go to AFCON, put Bruno in the 10 and put Maino and Casemiro in the pivot, because I think that's probably the best role for him. And the annoying thing is he's competing with Bruno there, and Bruno doesn't really suit the deeper role, but Bruno is Bruno. Aiden Heaven looks up for it, wants to see him give him more minutes of left centre back. I agree. I'm open to seeing as well Heaven left centre back, and I want to see Luke Shaw just giving a go at left wing back. I don't know what Luke Shaw's going to be like at left wing back. I don't know if he's got the legs. I don't know if Luke Shaw's got the energy. But I'd like to see a 30-minute Luke Shaw left wing back cameo, because I'm like, can he be much worse than what Delo and Dorgu have produced this season? And bear in mind, I thought Dorgu was going to have a breakout season, but he's only 20, so I think there's still a lot to come from Bruno. But not Bruno, Dorgu. But I wouldn't mind seeing 30 minutes of Luke Shaw at left wing back, I can't lie. But I really like Aiden Heaven. I think at centre back, Majraoui and Yoro can play right centre back. Delete Maguire can play central centre back. Leach, Shaw, and Heaven can play left centre back. I actually think we're pretty, in terms of centre backs, I've always felt, we're actually quite stat there. Like, I actually think that's our strongest part of the pitch. I think in the summer, if Amorim stays, I think we will need a left wing back that's very attacking and very aggressive, because you look at the difference Ahmad makes. We play so much better when it's Ahmad at wing back and not 2 fullbacks at wing back. We play so much better. Like, you look at the Arsenal game, how much Ahmad brought off the bench as well. We play a lot better like that. So I think we need a left wing back that's really attacking minded, and 2 midfielders. Semenyo, Elliot Anderson, and Wharton, I think right now are looking like the perfect 3 players to Man United. They're looking like, okay, they're the 3 that Man United need to get. If I was going to be honest, because I think Semenyo can play wing back, which is an unpopular opinion, but yeah. Cobby is cooked. I said it from the start. Cobby will be gone. Ruben isn't the manager to improve players. If players can't work in the system, they're gone. 26 players kicked out of Sporting. I get your point, but I think Cobby's too good of a talent, and I don't think he's been given the opportunities to prove himself, because Bruno's never going to be dropped, to be honest. I think like Cobby and Xerxes are good players. I think if we're in the Europa League, it's very different. I still look at potential of Amas for the future. Yeah, he's gone to Sheffield Wednesday on loan, which I feel like wasn't a good choice considering the issues that Sheffield Wednesday are having. But I have to say, Sheffield Wednesday fans are really liking Harry Amas. Sheffield Wednesday fans are not happy. I think Sheffield Wednesday are bottom of the league, right? Sheffield Wednesday FC. I think they are bottom of the championship. They have these financial issues. They're in an absolute dire situation, Sheffield Wednesday. They're on -6 points because of the financial situation ongoing. But from what I'm hearing from Sheffield Wednesday fans, Harry Amas is the least of the issues. He's actually got 2 man of the matches for them, and they do quite like him. I've heard a lot of positive things as well. So Harry Amas is the first match winner for them. He won player of the match, versus Oxford United for Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday fans are tweeting things like, Harry Amas is such a nice footballer. So even though Sheffield Wednesday are bottom of the league with a points deduction, they seem to be saying a lot of very nice stuff on Harry Amas. So, everyone's saying he's impressing on loan. So, I mean, that's definitely one to watch. I mean, I don't follow the championship and what our players are doing on loan, but I know that a lot of our players on loan have been impressing, which is good to see. We do have a great academy, and I think, while we need a left wing back, and now, Amas is potential. But I think Semenyo is playing a deeper role at Bournemouth, and he's really big in their carrying on the left. So I think he is made to be an Amorim wing back. And also he can play as a 10 if we want him further up. I don't know if you'd want to come to United to be a wing back though. If you say to Semenyo, you're coming in to be our left 10, he's like, boom. But if you say to Semenyo, you're coming in to be our wing back behind Cunha, he's maybe like, but I think he could work really well. He could work well. Wednesday are all but relegated. Apparently, Amas is doing well. It's just Sheffield Wednesday that's struggling because every Sheffield Wednesday fan on Twitter is saying that Amas is mint and he's one player of the match. So, I mean, that's positive. But yeah, I think it's one to look at, but definitely need a wing back. Let's continue into the next story. So, Ruben Amorim's goals have been revealed. Now, I've always said, and people are getting ahead of themselves, like, Alice, we should aim for Champions League football because we won 3 games in a row. We've won 3 games in a row. It's great. There's great signs. We look good with Lamont in goal. But we got to be realistic here. Just because we won 3 games in a row doesn't make me sit here and think, okay, guys, we're going to go now and get Champions League football. This squad is good enough to get Europa League football. If this squad does not finish in the top 8 this season, there has to be big question marks over Ruben Amorim. Because Cunha and Bumo, Sesko, Ahmad, Bruno, Mason Mount, Xerxes, De Ligt, Yoro, we've got so many good players. This squad has to finish in the top 8. This squad has to qualify for European football. I don't think the expectation should be Champions League, but it has to qualify for European football because otherwise there's going to be questions on Amorim because this squad is good enough to do that. I don't think I could sit here and say we have to qualify for Champions League football. I think that's too much of a step. That's too much of a push. But I think this team is more than good enough to get Europa League. And I would love to aim for 6th. I'd love to aim for top 6. And I like this. This is Ruben Amorim's aim. Ruben Amorim has targeted a place in Europe for next season. And certainly Chief Executive Omar Barada and Director of Football Jason Wilcox would be satisfied with a top 6 finish. I want Europa League. Look, Champions League is the dream, but I think if we get Champions League football, I don't know if we have the squad depth for that. Because let's say Xerxes and Maino go because we don't give them the minutes this season, and then we're in the Champions League. Well, we're going to need to give them minutes next. We need someone to. So I like Champions League football, but I actually think, and this might be an unpopular opinion, that Europa League football would benefit us more. Not from a financial sense, but then we can rotate a bit more and we can play a bit more youth. I think when you're in the Champions League and the group stage, how it is now and how you have a few tough games, you've got to play the strongest squad week in, week out. And I don't think we have the depth for that. I think if you sign Elliot Anderson and Wharton and Semenyo and you sign Mark Gay and you keep Xerxes and you keep Maynard, we have the depth to do Champions League and Premier League. But I don't know how if we have the depth to do it. But I would like Champions League. I would take Champions League over Europa League, of course. But I think Europa League would be really good for us because I think then you can see your Shea Lacey's and your Sekou Kone's good opportunities. I think it's a competition we can win. But then at the same time, we've been out of the Champions League for so long. I think I would prefer Champions League to Europa League. But I think Europa League could be easier for us because, depending on where we're at and the depth. But look, as long as we get Europa League, I'm happy. I don't want Conference League. I think it's just extra games and it's useless. But I would really like Europa League football next season. If we can get Champions League, that's a bonus. But the squad is good enough to get European football next season. I strongly believe that. And the goal was a top 6 finish. And look, I know a few years ago under Ollie, 6th was the worst thing ever when we finished 6th. And I know under Ragnick and Ten Hag, when we finish 6th, it's a bad season. And finishing 6th in the past is a bad season. But I think when you finish 15th and 8th the last 2 seasons, even though Man United, a club of Man United stature, should not be celebrating finishing 6th, and we should not be happy about finishing 6th in the slightest, right now I'd be happy just to get that and back in that top 6. Do you know what I mean? I'd be happy just to get back in that top 6. Just going through chats. There's multiple reasons why we need to keep them. AFCON coming up, potentially Europe next season. Exactly. I think Xerxes is more likely to go than Kobe. I think with Bruno and Casemiro set to leave at the end of the season anyway, I think that could be enough to convince Kobe to go. And one thing I've noticed about Kobe is Kobe doesn't want to leave permanently. He keeps asking for loans because he's a Man United fan. He wants to make it work as well. There's a rumour of Barca terminating Rashford's contract. Well, obviously they're not going to do that because Rashford has been Barcelona's best player. Rashford's doing more than Lamine Yamal this season. I mean, in recent games. Rashford's got more goal contributions than Rafinha and Lamine Yamal. So right now, I don't think Barcelona are going to be thinking of terminating Rashford's contract. We need to get Sesko more involved. I think Sesko's been quite involved, but I think if we can give him more service, that would be nice. I don't think we give Sesko loads of service, and I think that's something that we could do that would be very nice. I want to get into a few other things that was said. Anana come out and spoke, and he says life is like the air, sometimes sunny, sometimes raining. If raining adapt to it. If sun, come out and enjoy it. But when the sun comes out, don't think you're the best. When the rain comes, don't think you're the worst. I think that's when he was talking about his Man United form. Gary Neville came out and said that the players in the dressing room like Ruben Amorim a lot, which is good. We want the players on the side of the manager. And Morgan Gibbs-White did an interview with the Premier League and actually said in the last 4 or 5 games, you're starting to see how Man United should be playing, that grit and determination to play for the badge. I feel it is incredible to see it. The league has missed that United. Morgan Gibbs-White is saying positive things that he thinks Man United players are playing for the badge and working hard, and they are. I think Ruben Amorim has made some tactical adjustments that's helped us, but I also think the players have stepped up the last 3 games. And if you compare the intensity in the last 3 games compared to the Brentford game, all of a sudden the players are playing with a new level of intensity, and Ruben Amorim's playing with some new tactics. And we've definitely gone up a big level as well there, which is good to see. I do want to touch upon some transfer news before we round up the show, but of course, Champions League is the dream. Oh, Pedri's been Barca's best player. I'm not saying Rashford. I'm not saying he's been their best player, but I'm saying he's probably been more bright than Lamine Yamal and Rafinha in recent months. I think that Dyche to Forest is a good appointment, but I'm also annoyed because that means we have to play Sean Dyche's Forest on the new manager bounce. In terms of other news coming out, Rob Dawson of Sky has pretty much repeated what has been said by a million journalists, but I'm just going to give you extra context. And that is that a new defensive midfielder is Manchester United's number 1 priority. Elliot Anderson, Adam Morton and Carlos Baleba are 3 players under consideration. The position is more likely to be addressed in the summer than January. I mean, we've said this for the last month. We like Anderson, Morton and Baleba. Last season, we were looking at Semenyo, Cunha and Bumo. Last summer, we were looking at Semenyo, Cunha and Bumo. They were the 3 players we were looking at in terms of the 10's role. Obviously, Delap was the striker. In terms of the 10 roles, it was Semenyo, Cunha and Bumo. We got 2 of the 3. This year, it's Elliot Anderson, Morton and Baleba. We'll go for 2 of the 3. It will happen in summer. It's not going to happen in January. I think that is the whole situation there. But yeah, listen, people, I'm going to wrap up the live show here. It was a nice live show. I will be back tonight with a 10-minute roundup video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.